YouTube? This is Killer Arcade Games. I'm Chris, and this is going to be the final word. I'm calling it the final word on this cabinet. I find myself getting a ton of questions about, oh, how did you get Killer Instinct? How did you build this? What's inside? What kind of computer are you using? This will be it. I'm going to direct everyone to this video just because it's easier on me, and that way you guys get a lot more information than me just doing a quick reply on YouTube. Started off by saying I think this is probably the most wanted Arcade1Up cabinet out there. There's a lot of confusion about what it takes to build one of these, so I'm going to try to clear it all up right here for you. First things first, this was a Street Fighter cabinet from Arcade1Up. It had the right button layout. It's the easiest to go with. If you can find a Marvel cabinet where it has the blue trim, it may look even cooler. Also has the same button layout, and it might be a little bit better for you to mod. If you can't, just get a hold of the Street Fighter one. If you can't get a hold of a Street Fighter cabinet, just get a hold of any cabinet and you can order a new control deck from Tulsa Arcades. Alright, let's start from the top to the bottom. Here we go. Up here is a marquee from the Arcade Game Factory. I think they make pretty great marquees, but I haven't tried anyone else's. That's going to change soon, but for now it's going to be this one. And it looks good. You're just going to wait a little while on the product since he makes them all himself and has to pack and ship them all. I like it a lot. Looks great. It was about $55. You don't have to have a light-up marquee. I just really wanted one. I think it looks a lot better. It adds a lot to the cabinet. The art inside here was actually printed by Arcade Graphics. Moving on to, I guess, the rest of the art around the bezel, the sides, that was printed by Escape Pod online. They did a pretty great job. I probably ordered one of the first sets they ever made. I just happened to find it right as it was coming out and bought it. The art on the control deck is not going to match the arcade 100%. They added spinal for some reason. I don't know, but it works out. The Killer Instinct is also kind of blocked by the buttons. They come down over it. There's not much you can do about that unless you want to design your own art and have it printed. I have HAP controls installed. These are the real controls that were in the arcade cabinets back in the 90s or whenever you played the game. These are the exact same controls, the exact same micro switches. Someone's going to correct me, not quite the exact same. HAP was sold to another company, so now they're called Suzo HAP. They're essentially the exact same thing as far as I can tell. Now looking inside the cabinet, we're going to start top to bottom again. You'll see the marquee light that's mounted up in the top there. Moving down, you'll see the video controller board I had to add to make it work with this monitor. And below that is the heart of the machine. It is the PC I use. It does not look like a normal PC to someone who doesn't know what computers look like inside. I took it out of the case, mounted it to a board, and that way it just kind of is the essential parts only. It was too big to fit inside the full PC case. The computer is running an AMD 4200 dual-core processor that runs at 2.3 gigahertz. For reference, this computer is from 2008. I built it as a gaming computer back then. It was probably mid-range even then, but it runs Killer Instinct perfectly. It also has 2 gigs of RAM on board. I have a 160 gig hard drive in there. The hard drive really doesn't matter, so you can put whatever size as long as you could fit the games and everything on it. As you can see, I moved the power supply out and it is sitting in the bottom of the cabinet. The hard drive is mounted to the side wall of the cabinet. A lot of people had trouble with the fact that I used Velcro to stick it to the side wall. It all worked fine. It has never fallen off. It's been running for over a year now. And for the sound, I'm using a Logitech 2.1 sound system. There's 2 speakers up on the top. There's a subwoofer down in the cabinet. It gives the cabinet a great punchy feel when you're playing it. You can feel all the hits through the cabinet. Nothing vibrates on the cabinet. I don't have the bass up super high, just enough to get that feel of a loud arcade game and the feeling of it coming through the actual cabinet. It is sitting on a stock Arcade1Up riser. I don't decorate my risers, at least not yet. Maybe I will in the future, but for now it's just a stock riser. I highly recommend you get the riser. Don't bother setting this thing on the ground. It looks like a child's toy. Up on top of the cabinet, outside of the cabinet, is a PC button. I push that button to shut down the computer before I turn off the entire cabinet. And speaking of turning off the entire cabinet, this power supply is mounted to the inside wall here. I plug in everything to it. As soon as the PC is shut down, I reach my finger through this hole in the back, flip the switch, it turns off the entire cabinet. When I'm ready to start playing it, I reach in again, flip the switch, everything boots up and goes right into gameplay. I don't have to do anything special with a mouse or keyboard. And that is very important to me. I want this thing to look a little bit more like an arcade game rather than some MAME cabinet. Now, if you're wondering how I built this video is not going to be long enough to tell you how I built this cabinet. I did make a much longer video that's about 40 minutes long for my Mortal Kombat 2 cabinet. It shows me turning it into a MAME cabinet. Every step is shown in great detail. It seems to be enough for many people to have used it to build their own cabinets. I've had a lot of people comment on it and say that they did this and it worked great for them. If you have questions, leave them in the comments on that video and I'll try to help you through it. The video has over 30,000 views now, and I would like to think that most people got through the build process pretty smoothly because it's been pretty popular. Now here's some frequently asked questions that I always get, and one in specific that I really want to answer and answer really well for you guys. This video is being recorded on February 2nd, 2020, so keep in mind, if you're watching this years down the line, some of this information may not be accurate. I'm going to answer this question right now. So I'll take my first question from you, sir. Can you use a Raspberry Pi for this build? Okay, great question. Will Killer Instinct run on a Raspberry Pi? The answer is kind of complicated. Yes, it can. Will it run well? Kind of. Can it run for a long period? I don't think so. Almost every one of the Raspberry Pis made to this date have not been powerful enough to run Killer Instinct smoothly. You need a beefy processor, which those small little boxes just don't have. They're not really meant to have a big, powerful processor in them. This computer from 2008 runs it fine because it had a powerful processor that was meant to do a wide range of things, not just small tasks like a Raspberry Pi. I know you guys are probably fuming right now watching this. My Raspberry Pi is so powerful and great. That's great. It's just not really going to run Killer Instinct or much more powerful games beyond Killer Instinct, and you need to know that before you build your cabinet. Okay, next question. So you're saying I can't use a Raspberry Pi? I thought we covered this. Absolutely not. Don't run a Raspberry Pi for your Killer Instinct cabinet. It's just not worth it. You. Yeah, I heard that ETA Prime can run it just fine on his Raspberry Pi. I know you saw ETA Prime run Killer Instinct on there. That was for a short period of time, and if you watch it closely, it still had audio stutters, it had graphic glitches, things like that, and he didn't probably run it for a long period. It may overheat if you run it for an extended period of time. I can leave this on for hours on end, no problems. It never overheats. And you. Hey Chris, can I use a Raspberry Pi for this one? No, just don't. You. So I just got this Raspberry Pi. Is there any way I can make it run Killer Instinct? Do you know any tricks? Get a PC. Can I use my Raspberry? Don't. We're moving on. As far as the other frequently asked questions go, can I use my Sanwa or my stock cabinet controls? Yeah, you can. And you can still use my video to work through it. You can just skip the part where I'm wiring up all the HAP controls and just wire up your stock controls. Do I recommend that? Absolutely not. I think the stock controls on the Arcade1Up are pretty crappy. Sanwa controls are better quality, of course, but they still don't have the same feel of the original arcade. If you spend a lot of time in the arcades and you remember playing on these clicky buttons with these clicky joysticks, you're going to want to have that feeling again. These joysticks are nice and tight, they feel good, everything's great about them. They're going to last a long, long time, especially in a cabinet like this. They're not going to get heavy use. Just buy the HAP sticks. It's just a little bit more money, a little bit more effort, but it's worth it. Now, before you go diving into ordering those, watch my entire How to Mod Your Arcade1Up video in its full entirety. Mainly because you don't want to order all that stuff, hit a wall at some point, and realize, oh god, I can't continue, and I bought all this stuff, and now I'm mad at Chris from Killer Arcade Games. Don't do that. Watch it all the way through. It's 40 minutes. Know what you're getting into ahead of time. Believe me, it's worth your time and worth your money. And one more of my frequently asked questions is, will you build me a Killer Instinct cabinet? Name your price. Where can I buy a Killer Instinct cabinet? The answer is, no, I will not build you one. You don't want me to build you one. It will be $1,200 probably, especially if we have to ship it. And I don't know if it'll survive shipping because these are, not really meant to be shipped fully assembled. I don't know anyone who's going to build it for you, especially not exactly like this. You're going to end up paying way more unless you just did it yourself. I know it's an intimidating task. If you think you can do it, dive in and do it, but you're going to save a lot of money if you just build it yourself. So that's all for this video. Hopefully this gives people a lot of answers. I've answered a lot of these questions about 100 times, and I'm not even joking. I get a lot of comments about it. Perfectly fine. I don't mind it. Ask me questions all day long. I'm never annoyed with anybody. But in the future, if you ask about this Killer Instinct cabinet, I will link to this. If you've watched this whole video and you still have a question, please feel free to leave a comment on this video. I'll be glad to answer it. I'm really glad so many people love this game as much as I do. It was kind of a magical game for the time. It looked unlike anything else in the arcades at the time. The graphics were way ahead. The sound was unbelievable. The music was unbelievable. So it's really cool to see so many people love this game as much as I do. I appreciate you watching the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give me a thumbs up on the video if you enjoyed it. If you built this cabinet because of my cabinet, or if you saw the video on how to build a cabinet, or both, please leave me a comment. It would give me a very rewarding feeling knowing that people are using these videos to actually make their home dreams come true. I do know a few of you have already done this for sure, but just go ahead and leave me a comment anyway. I'd love to see it. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you on the next one. I don't think this guy knows what he's talking about. I can run Mortal Kombat 2 on any Raspberry Pi, and it just came out the year before Killer Instinct. Don't try to run it on a Pi, you're not going to be happy with it. But the new Raspberry Pi is really powerful. Don't!